developing a sermon series on aging and spirituality, it might seem strange to begin at the end. I'm curious, how many of you have spent any time at all thinking about your own death? Wow, look at that. I mean, just look at the hands that are raised. How many of you have talked with family about thinking about your own death? A little fewer. How many of you have talked with friends about thinking about your own death? A few. It might seem strange, but you know that teenagers, that 1 out of 10 think about death often. We live in a culture that is death denying, and it's probably a more taboo subject to talk about with other people than is sex. That is how death denying our culture really is. But there's a gift that comes with thinking about our own mortality, about the end of our own life. And the gift is that it helps us reflect on the life that we still have left to live. And it helps us center our values. And then to sort of add those correctives in our life so that we are living our values all the way to the end. Jesus said, I came that you may have life and have it abundantly. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, just what is the abundant life? Those of you who know me well know that I am an avid reader. I read all kinds of things, and among the things that I read faithfully are the comics. The other day, a Pickles strip caught my eye. Pickles is sitting with his friend on a park bench and remarks, when I die and go to the other side, you know what I'm going to ask? What? Where the heck did all my socks that disappeared in the dryer go? That's what you'll ask? Yup. Not what is the meaning of life? Oh, sure. That too. Beginning at the end. The end of life as we know it. There are two statements that are attributed to Martin Luther concerning the end of life. These are not quoted directly, but they capture the essence of his thoughts. In one, he said that the afterlife is God's business, and so he didn't worry about it. I sort of like that. Luther was concerned about this world, not about what happened after this world. In the other one, he said that we can know as much, or we can know as little about life after death as a baby traveling down the birth canal can know about the world the baby is about to enter. I think those are rather good, solid comments about Luther and his theology. He didn't worry too awful much about what was coming next, but he was very concerned with what was going on now. So let's talk a little bit about the life that we do know something about. Life in this world. And more precisely this morning, let's talk about the end of life in this world. That is what I mean by the phrase, beginning at the end. It was the great psychologist of inner life, Carl Jung, who brought to human awareness the notion that life develops in stages. Some of them more centered on the outside world, Others of them focused almost entirely on interiority, on reflection, on the search for meaning. The end stage of life, it seems, has something to do with making sense out of everything that has gone before it. It's interesting that in the final analysis, in the end, religion is not about dogmas and doctrines. It's not about facts. No, in the end, it comes down to questions about the nature of life. Questions about making sense of this world and pondering what may be the nature of what is yet to unfold. And it is the older generation that seems to know what younger people do not know. It is the older generation that they seem to know that in the end, none of the things that seem so important in this world in the younger years, none of the gods of our culture, money, sex, power, or possessions, that in the end, none of them matter. In the end, it's not stuff that wins. Elders have come to know firsthand the lie that is proclaimed aloud in that slogan found so often on bumper stickers, the one who dies with the most toys wins the game. They know that in the end it is the spiritual life, it is faith, it is soul that wins. It is being and not having that is most important in defining our life. Being in relationship is what brings peace and contentment and fulfillment and meaning to the years that we live. Let me tell you about Ed. Ed was a parishioner, a dear friend, a pinochle partner, and in the end of his life, he was my mentor and teacher. It was a good day. A long day, but a very good day. It began with an early morning phone call telling me that Ed was slipping in and out of consciousness and probably would not last the day. And it ended late in the evening with the family gathered together around the kitchen table, sharing stories about Ed. In 37 years of ministry, this day will stand out as among the most blessed. It was a very good day. A year earlier, Ed was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And when he shared that information with me, it began a series of conversations and visits between us where I would begin by asking Ed how he was doing, knowing that he was going to die. That was spoken. Ed, how are you doing, knowing that the end of life is coming soon? How are you doing? I had no profound words of wisdom for him. All I brought was a listening ear and a willing heart to accompany him as much as was humanly possible on that journey, and assuring him that there was no question, no emotion, no fear, no doubt that was out of bounds for conversation. Every topic was on the table. And every visit began with my letting Ed know that the ball was in his court. Sometimes he would open the door and let me in, and we would follow wherever the conversation would take us. At other times, he wasn't ready to talk about it. And so we talked about the weather, or the Giants, or to rehash one of our livelier pinochle games. But over the year, we spoke often of his journey in life and how he would bring it to completion. We talked about religion and faith. We talked often about God. But most of all, we talked about his 3 grandchildren. All of them under 8 years of age. And the question that weighed on his heart was, what kind of a legacy would he leave